Chapter 17. Untitled. They walk through a path. They walk through a path of total darkness for what feels like an eternity. Down narrow, bending hallways with low ceilings and spiraling staircases that go in circles. David constantly adjusts his sunglasses, hoping to God that they won't fall off. At the end of the tunnel is a dim light. It shifts through the entire color spectrum before going all the way back again in an endless loop. And they walk in, standing there side by side, and stopping in the doorway. David looks around the room. They're inside some kind of 1970s-style basement, fully furnished with wood-paneled walls and green shag carpet. And there's only one window to the outside world, a small window with no way to open it. And above them is a T-bar ceiling, hanging low, only a few feet above his head. In the corner of the room, there's a fully stocked bar, overloaded with patrons. The basement is dimly lit, hard to see anything clearly, and there's scattered lava lamps all over the place, always shifting in brightness and color, like the waves of a great ocean. David feels as if he's underwater or in some sort of aquarium, a feeling that he is deep underground. Additionally, there is some light coming from a yellow-tinted bulb hanging above the bar, and on all of the walls there's retro-styled neon graphics from Miller Lite, Pabst Blue Ribbon, Budweiser, etc. David looks around the room and sees everyone he's ever known. He sees the mayor sitting on a fine leather couch, drinking whiskey on the rocks, his father and Emily's mother beside him. The therapist sits on her wooden desk, placed in the corner of the room, reading her fat stacks of notes. The science teacher is enjoying a beer on draft at the bar, sitting next to the school nurse, who appears suspicious of everyone here. Among these familiarities are many strangers, nameless, faceless people that David has either never seen before or has no conscious memory of. They stand around, talking incoherently, making meaningless gestures, and pacing back and forth like robots. The detective glances around the room and looks back at David. He nods. David looks at him, confused. "This is the mayor's house," David says. "Trent's house." The detective puts his finger over his lip, non-verbally telling David to shut the fuck up. He starts touching his face, making silent hand motions in the air, doing catcher signals. Somehow, David can perfectly understand this newly invented sign language and interpret the words flawlessly. "David, remember what I told you," the detective signs. "Trust no one in this house, and never show them your eyes. Most importantly, don't mention Trent." And David nods. The mayor notices them standing in the corner. He laughs, intoxicated. "Mr. White? Mr. White!" he says, turning to David's father. "Look, Mr. White, your boy's come home." David walks over cautiously, with a slight tremor in his hand as he approaches. He sees his father on top of Emily's mother, their lips fully locked as they grope each other, making out with some intensity, laying only a few inches from the mayor, who doesn't seem to notice or care. "Dad?" David asks with a fearful sadness. Father pulls his lips off of her, looking over at his son with confused annoyance. "Junior, what are you doing here? How'd you find out about this party? It's adults only." And Mother's eyeing him up. "He looks old enough to me," she says, as David cringes. They go back to making out. The mayor sits up in his seat and leans towards David, a slight devilish smirk on his face. He shakes his head and laughs quietly. "I knew you'd show up eventually." "How?" David asked. "'Cause this is the place to be. No other place like it. A guy like you just couldn't stay away, could you? A guy like me. A guy like me?" The mayor nods. "A guy like you." He looks over to the couple sitting next to him, gesturing towards David's father. "A guy like him?" He finishes his drink. "I think you'll fit in around here." "I've been here before," David says. "Not in this way," the mayor corrects him. "Only now are you seeing his true form." David adjusts his glasses, and the mayor notices. "Nice shades, David. Where'd you get them?" "My friend over there." David points across the room at the detective. He was busy talking to some strangers, and David couldn't hear what he was saying, but based off the body language, his aggressive movement, and facial expressions, it was obvious that he was interrogating them, probably accusing them of some random horrendous thing. The mayor looks over at David, nodding. Interesting. Haven't seen him before. Mind if I try those shades? He reaches out to pull them off of his face, but David backs away quickly. The mayor raises an eyebrow in suspicion. I'd rather you didn't, David explains. I have a light sensitivity. The mayor scoffs. It's pretty dark in here. Nighttime, too. What do you need shades for? Here, let me have them. David backs away awkwardly. Sorry, I need to use the bathroom. I'll catch you later. On his way to the bathroom, he walks through small crowds of people, caressing his hair, looking over his shoulder. He bumps into someone, his glasses almost falling off of his face. He adjusts them frantically and looks up at the man he recognizes. The science teacher apologizes. Sorry about that, David. Hey, wait a minute. What are you doing here anyways? Shouldn't you be with Emily right now? How would you know? David asked. Well, you two are study partners, no? We still have a big test coming up, remember? So you better be studying and certainly not fooling around. He gestures towards the dark stairwell. He leans into David's personal space with a creepy look on his face, the purple light shining on the back of his head, giving him a sinister glow. At that moment, David realizes that they are alone, isolated from the rest of the party. I'm going upstairs for a bit. Here to join me? David glances over at the bar and tries to come up with some bullshit excuse. I think I see someone I recognize over there. He laughs, patting him on the shoulder. I'll see you upstairs, buddy. And gradually, he walks up the hallway. He disappears in the darkness, laughing, his last echo. And David stands there, alone in the dark hallway, shuddering. He speed walks over to the bar and sits down beside the school nurse. She turns in her spinning chair and sees David sitting there beside her, and she's overcome with shock, gasping and touching her mouth. David, what are you doing here? She touched his face, almost knocking his glasses off. That scar on your face, how'd you get it? Did you faint again? Did you faint again? David shoves her away and holds his sunglasses in place. Don't fucking touch me. She looks around, about to cry. I'm sorry, David, it's fine, you're all right. Just don't touch me. He says, leaning over the bar, exhausted and annoyed by everything around him. The therapist overhears them, and she looks up from her notes. Ah, David, back from the diner, I presume. He nods. Yep, that's right. And Miss Emily? She's doing well, I hope. He nods again with an insincere attitude. Yeah, she's great. I just spoke to her. She's great. The therapist glares at him, saying nothing for the longest time. She lets out a quiet laugh. You did take those pills as I requested, correct? I mean, you wouldn't disobey me, would you? David swallows. Yeah, we took them. 5 each, just like you said. 5 pills. She sighs, disappointed. You're lying to me, David. I can tell. What does she say next? David freezes, feeling the sweat build on his forehead. How does she know, he thinks to himself. How does she know that I'm lying? If you would have taken those pills the way I said, you wouldn't be sitting here as you are now. She glances over to the bar. Maybe now's a good time. To take those pills. On the other side of the bar, a young woman shakes a drink and pours it into a glass for an unseen customer. David relaxes at his seat, pondering where he's seen her before. Why does she look so familiar? The waitress wipes the sweat off her face with a rag, and she catches sight of David, who's staring at her. She smiles, fluttering her eyes, and David waves back. Where do I know you from, he asks. Don't you work at the Rainforest Cafe? She pulls out a glass and some liquor. That's right. Well, then what are we doing here? What are you doing here? This is just a side gig, she says. Speaking of, free drinks tonight. What are you having? David pauses for a moment, shaking the pills in his pocket, and he thinks about what the therapist had told him. What did the therapist tell him? And he wonders, if he should take them here without Emily. And he thinks on it for a moment, and the waitress stands there impatiently. Well, vodka, David says quickly, unsure of his decision. Vodka straight, 2 or 3 ice cubes. She reaches for the vodka. First time here? I don't know, he says. Last time here? Hopefully. She hands him the glass filled halfway with crystal clear vodka. He puts it to his nose. The smell burns. He can feel his eyes watering. Has to be Everclear, or maybe something stronger. He swirls the liquid around, hearing how the ice cubes clink against the glass. What brought you here? She asked. I'm looking for someone. Good friend of mine. Good friend of mine. I'm looking for her. Well, what made you think he'd be here? I thought he lived here. She laughs. The mayor lives alone. Everyone knows that. David laughs sadly. Yeah, guess I was mistaken. I don't know what I was thinking. Hey, can I ask you a question? I guess so, as long as you're not asking for my number. Have you ever known someone who disappeared completely? I mean, like you just never see him again. I mean, completely. Every memory you ever had with them is put in question. And some days you wonder if they were ever real to begin with. She starts to shake a cocktail. That kind of thing happens to everyone. I wouldn't sweat it. David pauses, looking defeated. Yeah, you're probably right. He continues to play with the vodka, not drinking it, and wondering if he should take the first sip. A sip to wash down the pills. A sip to solve all his problems. Problems? What problems? What kind of problem could possibly bring him to a place like this, surrounded by people like these? And he starts to think about how he's got, and how he's looking distressed. He can't seem to remember anything at all. You hear a random voice calling out to him. Yo, dude. David looks up at the guy sitting beside him, and he's about the same age as him. He's wearing a black beanie, leather gloves, a white sweater with black horizontal stripes, and dark sunglasses on top of a domino mask. He looks like a criminal. David thinks to himself, like a classic burglar from an old movie. You good? He asked. Yeah, David responds. Why do you ask? You look fucked up. No offense. Okay, let me guess, you're sitting here alone, waiting for someone who's never coming back. Let me guess, you're sitting here alone, waiting for someone who's never coming back. David raises an eyebrow. What do you mean? The criminal taps the rim of David's drink. I'm guessing they gave you the pills too. The pills, David repeats with shock in his voice. The criminal leans in with a wide, intense eye and a trembling voice. Don't fucking take those pills, man. Don't take anything they give you. That's how they get you. Don't eat, don't drink, don't even sleep. David tries to pull away from him, but he always seems to get closer. Who will get me? David asked him. You think we're here by accident? The criminal asked. You think we're here by accident? We're all here for a reason. It's all a part of a plan. It's a fucking game to them. And I'm just supposed to sit here and act like I'm the only one who's being played? Hey, David whispers. Keep your voice down. The criminal points at David's sunglasses. You're like me, afraid to show them who you really are, your true self. Well, you know what, David? Fuck these people. A table full of patrons starts to look over at them with concern. One of them can be seen talking to the mayor, discussing what to do about the disturbance. Hey, take it easy, man, David says. Fuck that. I know they're listening. I want them to hear. And he yells, I'm just gonna show them who I really am. Show them what's behind my eyes. He cries, collapsing, hitting his head on the bar and pounding his fist. I can't fucking live like this anymore. There's nothing here for me. And he takes off the sunglasses, crying. David sees the devastation and hopelessness on his face and in his eyes. And the waitress stands nearby with a look of horror on her face as he takes the sunglasses off. What are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here. You shouldn't even know about this place. The criminal wipes his tears away and laughs. I want you to watch what happens, David. My death is just the beginning. Many more will follow. Soon everyone will know what it's like to disappear completely. He cries again. Watch me. Watch me disappear. Someone in the crowd yells out, That's the guy! The detective jumps out from seemingly nowhere, grabbing onto the criminal's wrist, bending it backwards, and slamming his head against the bar. He struggles for a moment, but quickly learns to stop resisting. Give me those pills, David. Let me take them for you, the criminal pleads. The detective laughs. Don't listen to him, David. This is the guy. David looks back and forth between them. The guy? What guy? He's the one who did it, the detective answers. The guy who stole all the pennies from the fountain. A Christ killer. And he slams a pair of handcuffs. Slaps a on the criminal's wrist. You're going away for a long time. David touches the detective's arm as he takes him away. Wait, he says. Where are you taking him? What are you going to do to him? Same thing that happened to you-know-who. Non-existence. That's what he deserves, David. And that's where he's going. The detective pauses for dramatic effect. His body's never going to be found. And David watches as they both disappear, the criminal and the detective. And he looks out the window. Outside the window is a huge backyard, a grassy field. It's nighttime, but the area is brightly lit by a tall street lamp hanging hundreds of feet in the air. And on the field, there are many people gathered together in ceremony. Some are crying, some are laughing. A few pounded their fists in the dirt, cursing God. A priest stands before them, reading a book as a coffin is lowered into the ground. A stonemason chisels a name onto the tombstone, but halfway through the job, he strikes the hammer down a little too hard, and the entire slab is cracked. The top half crumbles into dust. He shrugs his shoulders and walks off, causing those who cry to cry even louder, and those that laugh to laugh with exceeding amusement. David looks back into the house, seeing all the strangers have disappeared, and the only patrons left are those that he barely recognizes anymore, but still look familiar. And he has everyone he's ever known sits beside him at the bar, and he looks at them coldly, not even a single ounce of care or understanding, and he wonders if they even really see him, if they can even see past his sunglasses. And David asks them all a question. The question echoes through the entire house. Who will do the eulogy at my funeral? And they give no answer, but David knows the truth. I don't even need to say the answer, because we all know the answer. We all know the truth. And he walks over to a leather couch, feeling light and transient, a trail of life left hanging in the air as he moves across the room. And he sees the science teacher standing in front of a CRT TV, and he's holding in his hands a DV camcorder. It's plugged into the TV, and the teacher plays a tape, rewinding it and replaying it over and over again, looking completely enamored by the flashing images. David stands beside him. David, the teacher says, look at the screen. I want to show you something beautiful. He looks up at the screen and sees a grainy 480p video, and it shows the science teacher in a bedroom. She's sitting on a bed next to him. And next to the science teacher is the school nurse. The school nurse. She unbuttons her white coat, revealing her body to him. The tape skips ahead. He's on top of her, both fully nude, and he's fucking her. As she lays on the bed, her arms stretched out, the nurse moans, throwing her head back. The camera zooms in on her face. She looks up at the camera, right into the lens with a death stare. The tape repeats itself from the beginning. David does not look away. Why are you showing me this? He says. The teacher seems surprised. What do you mean? This isn't the first time I've shown you this. He pats David on the back. Go upstairs, bud. She's waiting for you. In the bedroom. David walks across the now empty basement without even thinking. The bar is devoid of people, but littered with red cups, liquor bottles, beer cans, cigarette butts. It's a fucking dump in here, like a fucking frat house. And he goes up the dark staircase through the mayor's lavish living room and through a long hallway. And there's no one else home. Not a single sound can be heard. He knocks on the bedroom door, and he places his ear on it, and there's no response, but he goes inside anyway. The school nurse sits on the bed, wearing the same outfit as she did in the DV tape. The same white overcoat with nothing underneath. And David can see her long, pale legs, her mature figure. She smiles and tilts her head back. David enters slowly, gently, slowly closing the door behind him and locking it quickly. She stands in front of him. He stands in front of her, breathing slowly, trying not to look nervous. "You came," she says to him. "I did." She adjusts her hair. I didn't think you felt the same way about me." He kneels in front of her. "How do you feel about me?" And she reaches out to caress his hair, massaging his scalp. "It's best if I just show you without words. Come here." He crawls into the bed and begins unbuttoning her uniform. She lies there looking up at him with wide eyes, unmoving, but her hands and legs shake involuntarily. Her mouth hangs open with parted lips. The rush of cold air goes up her chest, giving her goosebumps. David rips off her shirt and climbs on top of her, kissing her neck as she moans. As David kisses her all over, stroking her hair, he looks over to the corner of the room. A camera mounted on the ceiling with a blinking red light and wires running through the wall, and it's recording them, broadcasting with a 0-second delay. And he can hear the internal mechanism humming. And he imagines the science teacher on the other end, watching his every move. David shakes his head, trying to ignore the camera as it pans towards him, the lens zooming in on his facial expressions. David rips off her panties and spreads her legs apart. But before he does anything else, she reaches out to touch his face, caressing the scar below his eyes. The nurse slowly takes off his glasses. David does not resist. The nurse throws her head back and exhales. "David, it's really you. How did you know it was me?" And David puts the sunglasses back on and pauses. "What do you mean?" The nurse sits up, leaning her head against the bedpost. She starts to play with her hair, and David laughs, for he does not know what she is doing. And she grabs her hair by the roots, yanking it off her scalp and revealing to him that it was only a long, styled wig. And David jumps away from her in sheer panic. He almost screams. Emily takes off the hyper-realistic silicone mask to reveal her true identity. "Emily!" David screams. "David!" Emily yells back, overcome with joy. She jumps forward to hug him so tight. "I knew that you would recognize me." He pushes her off of him. "Emily, what are you doing here? You shouldn't be here." "I came here to help you, David. Help solve the mystery. But it's too dangerous for a girl like you. You need to get out of here." "But David," she says, "we're so close to revelation." "They're onto us," David said. "You need to leave now." "And go where?" "And go where? They're everywhere. Nothing escapes their grasp. Nowhere is safe, David. The least we can do is understand why they're doing this." A phone starts to ring. It's coming from the closet. David walks over, pulling the doors open, and at the bottom of a cardboard box he sees a cell phone. It's ringing. The caller ID is The Voice. Someone's calling him. He flips it open, putting it to his ear and asking who it is. He hears nothing on the other end for a long time. But eventually someone does speak to him. A monotone, almost robotic voice. It sounds distorted, as if it's coming from another world entirely. "If you turn around, you'll die! Leave this room and don't say a single word to her." David stands there, his hands shaking, his feet feeling heavy. Emily tilts her head. "David, who is it? Who are you talking to?" Crying as he walks to the door, begging for him to come back. "Walk down the hallway to your right." That's what the voice tells him to do. He follows the voice instructions, every instruction perfectly, down dark hallways as he walks, holding the phone to his ear the entire time, waiting for what happens next. He observes what surrounds him, the beautiful artwork, the priceless decorations, the many photos of scenery. How many times has he been to this interior house? And how does it feel so new? He thinks back on what someone told him years ago. Only now do you see how it really is, with a new set of eyes. He sees someone run across the hallway, darting from one room to another, and he freezes in his tracks. He doesn't want to go any further. He starts backing up, but the voice corrects him. "Follow," he says, and David follows the entity in the room. David walks forward. His footsteps echo through the hallway. For a brief moment, he sees someone run out of the room, rounding the corner down an adjacent hall. David follows him with speed. He stops again suddenly, There's someone standing at the end of the hallway in front of a white door. This person looks exactly like him. The same black hair, about the same age, maybe a year or two older. His doppelganger stands with his back against the door, looking fearful, but with hate in his eyes, like a cornered animal nearing its death. David slowly approaches him, afraid of what he might do. The doppelganger runs into the room and slams the door shut. Follow him inside, the voice commands, and David does so. He enters the room. It's some sort of windowless storage closet. A light bulb hangs from the tallest ceiling on a metal chain, and there's a mirror to his left. It's the size of the entire wall, going from floor to ceiling. Standing on the other end is someone who looks familiar to David. But it's not the doppelganger from a few seconds ago. No, he's gone. This is an entirely new person who has replaced him. But it also looks like David, a second doppelganger, a third person of a trinity. The doppelganger stares at David with the same hatred that the first one had, the same suspicion, the same disgust. He marches towards David, stopping an inch from his face, shaking with rage. He speaks in a screaming whisper, "You're me!" And David swallows in a dry throat, nervous, maintaining a stoic face. He exhales quickly. Very slowly, he turns to his left, looking into the large mirror, and he sees that there is only one person there. He's done it with the doppelganger. But he's not standing where he should be. He's standing where David is. And David walks towards the mirror slowly, watching as the reflection copies his movements. He touches the reflection and realizes, my voice is cracking so bad, and realizes that he is the doppelganger. He has assumed his appearance. An imperfect copy of himself. An imperfect copy of himself. The phone speaks to him. Leave this room. And he leaves the room. Go into the first bedroom on your right. He does so with no hesitation. David enters the master bedroom. It is tall. It is a spacious room with a king-size bed, a giant flat-screen TV mounted on the wall, gold-trimmed everything, white marble, the whitest white drapes, and the moon shines pale blue light through a large window. Check. Underneath the bed, the voice says. David crawls under the bed, reaching into the cramped darkness. He feels something and pulls it out. It's a shoebox, and he sits on the bed with the box on his lap, and he debates opening it. But he's commanded to open it. Open it! And he does so with shaking hands. There's gift paper and packing peanuts filled to the brim. He digs through it. He digs through the box, causing him to spill out on the floor. And at the bottom he feels something cold and metallic. He puts it out. He pulls it out. It's a suppressed 9mm pistol. He can feel his mouth dry out. He goes pale. His whole body feels light, as if he could faint at any moment. 2 days without sleep finally catches up to him. Put the gun to your head, the voice tells him. And he can feel his eyes start to water, and a tear rolls down his cheek. He does what he's told. He places the barrel of the gun right against his right temple, still holding the phone in his left ear. He tries not to cry out loud, restricting his breathing. He doesn't want the voice to know his fear. Hear his sadness, his terror. And he knows it comes next. He knows what has to be done, and he dreads every microsecond before its arrival. He doesn't, you want to appreciate every last second that you have left, even if you know that it's going to end, and you're just savoring every fucking microsecond as the gun is digging into your fucking temple. Do not think that you can hide from me, David. I can see you walking through the corridors. I can feel your terror pulsing through the halls. Let that fear wash over you. Feel the cold barrel digging into your skull. Understand that you are going to die. And he cries, sobbing loudly, burying his head in his lap. Pull the trigger! David sits up, sucking the snot back into his nostrils, wiping away the tears. He corrects his breathing, trying to calm himself before the end of all things. The voice does not ask a second time. David closes his eyes, breathing in and out in a controlled manner. He stops. His entire body tenses up. He grits his teeth so hard, his molars might shatter, feeling an aneurysm build up inside his brain. He shakes his head violently with the anticipation of death, and he pulls the trigger.
The gun clicks, and David drops the gun and inhales with terrified relief. And it was jammed, there was no bullets in it, okay? He cries again with both hands covering his face, and the voice speaks to him. One day your time will come, and on that day, I'll have a bullet waiting for you, and I will be standing there, holding the gun. Leave this room. As David leaves the room, the voice speaks to him, distorted and whispering, telling him where to go and how to feel. And the house is dark. This is the voice talking to him. The house is dark as the pale moonlight shines through soft white drapes. See how the night lights and the hallways guide your path? You stalk the upstairs hallway like an unwanted ghost. Understand that everyone you've ever known is left, and you are the forgotten one, the one who never left, the one who remains in this undead house. The one who remains in this undead house, alone forever. You're alone now. You've always been alone. You've always been alone. And you'll be alone as long as you hear my voice. Go into the child's bedroom. Stand there and reminisce on everything you could have done differently and all the people you should have treated better. And every time you wished you knew how to behave like a normal person, like someone who isn't alone. Reminisce and regret. Understand that there is no way to undo your mistakes, and understand that it's too late to learn and too late to move on. And the only thing left to do is remember and regret. Go downstairs. Go downstairs into the living room. Stand there in the wide open space. Look out into the wide open windows. Do you see what's outside? Do you fear that someone is watching you? The same way you watch everyone else. You are the watcher who watches and never interacts. An observer of people, not a liver of life. One day you'll see the bullet I have prepared to you. One day you will see the bullet I have had prepared for you, and you will regret every time you said nothing and every potential connection you squandered so you can sit there and pretend to exist. You fantasize and dream. You fantasize and dream, knowing deep down that I'm right. You feel a crushing emptiness inside you. Feel that emptiness and understand that you are subhuman. Go into the basement. See that you can see nothing. Standing alone in the infinite, empty blackness. Use your hands to feel around in the dark. Feel the shag carpet under your feet. Does it feel familiar to you? Do you feel the wooden railing as you walk down the steps? Do you hear how quiet it is? How does it feel to be alone? I want you to fear what lies in the dark and understand the possibility I could be standing there, right next to you, inches away. You're standing right where you started, in the garage. Try to remember how you got here, but you can't. Reflect on your entire life and think how you've become who you are, your subhuman self, your incompetent, self-hating self. Your entire life is a hazy blur of meaningless images and abstract, unrelated events. Missed opportunities and vague memories of familiar spaces. Exit this house through the backyard.
David walks out into the backyard, finding himself in what appears to be a gigantic baseball park at night with stadium lights high up in the air beaming down onto the field. He looks around, seeing the many people in the stands. He looks down, seeing his feet on home plate. And standing there on the field is everyone he has ever known. His father at first base, Emily's mother on second. The science teacher is playing shortstop. The therapist sits on her wooden desk, placed on third base. The waitress and the two doppelgangers patrol the outfield. And standing there in front of David, 60 feet and 6 inches away, is the mayor on the pitcher's mound. David looks over his shoulder. Emily stands behind him in what you would call the catcher position. She's even crouching in the dirt. The mayor takes off his glove, throwing it in the grass. He crosses his arms, sneering. Looks like the designated hitter is next up to the plate, he laughs. Sorry, my alarm's going off. My bad. Shit, where was I? Right, okay, so it looks like the designated hitter is next up at the plate, the mayor laughs. What were you expecting to do here, David? Beat us on our own home turf? And David looks around the stadium, awestruck and confused. Awestruck and confused, he says,
This doesn't look like U.S. Cellular Field. The mayor laughs. No, it's the U.S. Steel Yard, home of the Gary Railcats. David pauses in disbelief. You look disappointed, David, he says mockingly. You've been sticking your nose in some business that doesn't pertain to you. You jumped a little too far down the rabbit hole and found yourself stuck. You had no choice but to crawl at the other end. You didn't expect it would lead you here, did you, in Gary, Indiana? Mr. Mayor, I don't know what you're talking about. He laughs to himself, shaking his head in disappointment. Don't play dumb with me, David. I know you're a lot smarter than that. I also know that you're not who you say you are. The doppelganger screams out from across right field. He's an imposter. The second doppelganger agrees. He's pretending to be me. I'm the one that pretends, not you. The sold-out stadium with tens of thousands of people begins to boo David, and everyone on the field screams at him incoherently. Everyone except Emily, who holds onto his arm with great fear, burying her face in his chest. The voice on the phone begins to speak again. Your cover's been blown. Take off your glasses. Show them who you really are, who you were before the incident. David slowly takes them off, and the booing intensifies, and everyone looks into his eyes, seeing who he really is. He feels naked. An umpire walks out from a shadowy corner. He walks around the field and stands beside the mayor. He's extremely tall, at least 7 feet. He stands there on the mound wearing a black plaid coat and black pants, and he's, a black cloak that goes all the way down to his legs, and covering his face is a black mask, completely flat with no eyes or mouth holes. He holds the cell phone to his mask, speaking into it. David hears the voice twice. Each time he talks, I'm getting confused here. So the voice is talking to him on the mound as David is listening on the phone. So there's a slight delay. He hears it twice. The voice speaks out loud. He hears it, and then he hears it on the phone. Okay. One by one. I keep messing this up. Sorry. Okay. If you had any idea who we were or who we represent, you would have fallen to the ground and worshipped our every word. One by one, they dig into their eyes, removing their colored contact lenses and revealing their true color. Each and every one of them, everyone in the town of Chesterton, Indiana, has eyes as black as the void of space. The mayor and all his citizens and everyone on the field, and everyone on the stands, and everyone in the bleachers, everyone except David and Emily. These are the same eyes that David looked into when Trent stabbed him to death, with pupils the size of the eye itself. Look behind you, the voice commands. David looks and sees that there is a coffin at home plate. It fits 2 people. Emily's already lying in the coffin, crying. And David looks at the voice. What's going to happen to me, he says. Same thing that happened to Trent and Maria, he says. David looks up at the black night sky, not a single star to be seen. He feels the weight of reality pushing down on him. That name. Why does that name feel so familiar? Why can't I remember? Maria, David asked. Who's Maria? And the mayor laughs, followed by everyone else. The voice speaks into the phone. One day, someone will ask, who is David? Lie down in the coffin. And David lies down beside Emily. The pills that we gave you, take them out. What do they do? David asked. You should already know what they do. They solve problems. And you should know that the only problem here is you. Take 5 pills, put them in your mouth, swallow them one by one. Each pill will push you closer to death as your vision begins to blur and your heart beats slower. Your hearing will muffle and your senses will become muted. You'll slip into non-existence as peacefully as one could. Consider this act of mercy. We could have shown you a far worse fate than death. David looks over to Emily and sees that she is no longer crying. She almost looks peaceful, confident in her decision to die. And she touches his arm and nods. And this is the only way.
And he pours the pills into his hand, 5 exactly, and looks up. "What about the eulogy?" David asked. The mayor shakes his head. "No." David glances over at the voice, his soul completely crushed. He speaks with a tightened throat. "What's it like on the other side?" And the voice speaks for the last time. "There is no other side." David pops the pills into his mouth. They're small enough to swallow with very little effort. It'd be so easy to accidentally ingest them. He holds them on the tip of his tongue, thinking about how close death is, and as his life literally hangs in the balance. As the pills balance on the tip of his tongue, he's just about to give Emily the pills when he sees that the home team dugout is right beside him, only a couple feet away. You know, it's unguarded, there's no players there, no umpires, no field security. Most importantly, it's the only way out of here. He sees that the mayor is watching his every move, and so is the voice in the black mask. There's no escape. He's made his final decision. And on this night, he will end his life. A permanent solution to a temporary problem. A decision he will never be able to take back. And he imagines non-existence, the feeling of not knowing anything, or seeing anything, or hearing anything, or having no awareness, not even the ability to dream. But David spits the pills on the ground, talking to Emily, taking her by the arm, pulling her out of the coffin. She seemed shocked. She really thought this was the end, and she was ready to face the end of all things. But that will not be this night. And they run towards the dugout as the stadium erupts with boos and jeers. All the infielders run towards them, trying to stop their escape. David opens the door to the clubhouse. David opens the door to the clubhouse, pulling Emily inside and locking the door behind them.